This video covers Lesson 2-1 for Secondary 1 Math, Slope-Intercept Form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, and you can see that here in parentheses. Now, a couple things we need to know. The m represents one thing, while the b represents something else. There are two elements here. We have y and x, which are values. Okay. The m, though, is our slope. Well, what is slope? Slope describes the steepness of a line, right? So slope can be represented more than one way. We've heard this before, rise over run. That's one way we talk about slope. Another is delta y over delta x. That's the triangle, means delta. Delta means change in, okay? Or we could say the vertical change over the horizontal change. So if we think about a line real quick, here's a line, and we want to find the slope. We're looking at how steep is this. So we talk about the rise, how much is it going up, over, how much is it going over. So rise over run. Or the change in y, because this red is along the y-axis, and the blue is along the x-axis, so change in x. Alright, so what does this be? This b is our y-intercept. You'll see it abbreviated as y-int often. Okay, so what the y-intercept is the point where the line crosses the y-axis. So the key here is knowing where the y-axis is. Remember, horizontal axis is x, the vertical axis is the y-axis. And so if I have a line, the y-intercept is the point right here where those two intersect or cross. Okay, number one, we want to find the slope and the y-intercept of each graph and write the equation of the line. So let's begin with looking at our slope. If we take 2 points, so let's say here's a point that fits perfectly on our grid, and here's another point perfectly on our grid. To find our slope, we're going to do the rise, so we're going to go from left to right, we're going to rise 2. That means I'm adding 2, so it's a positive 2 rise. And our run means we're going over 1, 2, 3. That's a positive 3, because we're going to the right. So up is positive, right is positive. So our slope, rise, was 2, run was 3. So 2/3. Now the y-intercept, we're looking for the point where the line that's graphed here crosses the y-axis. And that's right here. This is a point right here. And that point is 0. Now we write it this way. This is 0, -6. So the b is the y value of the point. So it's just the -6. Now to write this in slope-intercept form, or as an equation, we do y equals 2/3 x minus 6. Okay, number 2. So here we have our line. I'm going to go ahead and continue with the same approach I had. I'm going to pick 2 points. Here's a point. Here's a point. Next, I'm going to go with the rise. So I'm going to rise up 3. So that's positive 3. Now my run, I'm going to start here and I'm going to go over 0. So the run is 0. So let's see. Rise, so 3 over 0. Do you know how to divide by 0? No, we can't divide by 0. We can't take 3 things and break them into 0 groups. We have to have at least one group to have those 3 things in. So we actually say that this slope is undefined. Okay. And our y-intercept? Well, let's look. We have this line here. Never crosses the y-axis. And notice that it's always 3 away, all the way down. So there is none. So no y-intercept. Well then, how can we define this equation? Well, we do know that it crosses the x-axis. So we're going to use that to help us. So we're going to say that x is always, or is equal to, 3. Because it crosses the x-axis at 3. And it's always at 3 for x, because it's a vertical line. Okay, number 3. Well, here's our line. Let's go ahead and mark 2 points. Here's one. Here's another. Now, it doesn't matter which ones we use. There's 3 here that I found that might be helpful. So let's go ahead and, going from left to right, I'm going to go down. So this is a negative here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So down 4. And then we're going to go right 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Until we get to this point. So it's positive 8. Now we're doing rise over run. So this is going to be negative 4 over 8. But we don't want it just like that. We want to simplify. These are both divisible by 4. So we can rewrite this as negative 1/2. Okay, so then our y-intercept, well, that's this point here where it crosses the y-axis. That point is, again, 0, 4, and the b is just the second value, the y value of that point, so it was 4. Writing our equation, y equals negative 1/2 x plus 4. All right, number 4. Again, here's our line. Let's pick 2 points. Put these ones a little closer together. And now let's go ahead. Our rise, we're going to rise 0. Okay, so we're not going up at all. So we're trying to go from one point to the other. But we do run 3 in this case. So we would have 0 over 3. What is 0 divided by 3? If I have 0 dogs and I'm giving them to 3 people, how many dogs will each person get? Well, it's 0. And so our slope is 0. Now we're looking for that y-intercept. That's the point here where they're crossing. And this value, again, the point is 0, negative 6. But remember, the b value is just the y value of that point, so it's negative 6. Writing our equation, we write y equals 0x minus 6. Now, what is 0 times anything? Well, 0 times anything is 0. So we would have 0 minus 6, which is just negative 6. So we could also write this as y equals negative 6. Okay, number 5. Again, seeing the same pattern. So I'm going to pick 2 points real quick. Here's one. Here's another. And we're going to go ahead. We're going to go down 2, so that's negative 2. Then we're going to go right 2, so that's a positive 2. And notice I probably could have gone shorter than this and gone down 1 over 1. So let me go ahead and show you that. This is down 1 here and over 1, and we'd be back on the line. So we'd have negative 1 over 1, or just negative 1. So our slope is negative 1. The y-intercept, again, the point where the line crosses the y-axis, and that point is 0, 5. So the b value is the y value of that, which is 5. Writing our equation, we get y equals negative 1x plus 5. Now you'll probably see this at some point. Y equals negative x plus 5. And these are the same thing. So either way, writing it either way is fine. Okay, number 6. I would suggest that you go ahead and pause the video and attempt this one. And then, when you're ready, unpause it and see if you got it correct. Okay, so hopefully you've already found the slope and the y-intercept and written your equation. What we're going to do is we're going to look at this. Notice I have 2 points here on the line. It caused me to go up 4 and over 1. So our slope is 4 over 1, which we can write as 4. So we're going to simplify that to 4. Then our y-intercept, that's the point where they cross. The line crosses the y-axis. That's here, which this point is 0, negative 3. So our b is negative 3. Writing our equation, we should have had y equals 4x minus 3. Okay, so for the next few problems, we're going to take an equation in slope-intercept form, and we're going to find the slope and the y-intercept. Now, hopefully we might already see this and recall this. Let's do a quick little recap. Right here is our slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And when we're looking at an equation in this form, really what we can do is write that form right above the equation. So let's look at number 7. If I write the form right above it, y equals mx plus b, I can identify exactly what our slope and y-intercept are. Our slope is represented by m, and so m in our equation on number 7 is 1/4. So there's our slope. And b is -5. Now, here's something we have to be aware of. We want to keep the sign. Whatever the sign is in front of that number is going to be part of b. So here's -5. So let's go ahead and look at our next one. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, our slope is always next to the variable x. And so here again, our m is the coefficient of x, which is 3. And our b, well, there's nothing there, so that would be 0. All right, so let's take a look at number 9. We have y equals x minus 2. So I'm going to go ahead and write this out. We got y equals mx plus b. And our m, don't circle the x. That's a common thing. We think, oh, it's just x then. No, it's not x. The slope is the coefficient of x. How many x's do we have here? Well, it's 1. We have 1x if we were to write the coefficient. And so our slope is 1. Okay, so to find our y-intercept, we're just going to look at what's below the b. That's a -2. Remember, including the sign. So there's our y-intercept, -2. Number 10, we can go ahead and do the same thing. So we have y equals mx plus b. Now, if we're not careful, we might do, oh, look, m, 7. So slope is 7. But that's actually incorrect because the 7 does not have an x next to it. It's not the coefficient of x. So what we want to do is write this equation, y equals 7, slightly differently. Let's go ahead and write it as y equals something x plus 7. Well, what times x would make x go away or show up as nothing? Well, that's 0. So it's 0x. Well, now we can see that it's not 7. The slope's not 7. It's actually 0. So we can write that in. And the y-intercept, or b, is 7. This concludes the video for Lesson 2-1 for Secondary 1 Math, Slope-Intercept Form.